Hello again, everyone. This is Zombie Kids Rule, and I'm back with another RPG Maker MZ tutorial. Apologize, I've been away for a while. I've been on vacation and just haven't had time to get a quiet place to record any videos. I have been doing a lot of experimenting and building things in RPG Maker MZ, so I have a lot of tutorials I need to catch up on. As well as some other things that I've been doing. So in this tutorial, I want to show how to make visible in-game dice rolls. They're not fancy, I'll just say that. I'll throw a couple of my caveats out here. They're not really fancy, but it's just the functionality of how it works. And I'm going to show a few different variations of it, I guess. I'm going to show a few different things, and then I'll go through them. So this might be a little longer video. Throw my caveats out here. As I've said before, I'm still new to RPG Maker MZ. I have no coding background whatsoever. The only JavaScript I've learned is in trying to learn how to do things in MZ. And I'm very, very thankful for the people over at RPG Maker web forums. They're very helpful. I'll post a question over there. People will come back and give answers, and that often helps quite a bit. These are not fancy videos, meaning I don't spend a lot of time with map graphics and all this other stuff, because right now I'm focusing on functionality, just functionality. How do you make the game do things? How do you make this engine do things that I would want to put in a game? So I'm just focusing on functionality right now, and then in other things, not with these tutorials, I'm working on, hey, what do I want in my game as far as the design and the story and how I'm going to do different things. So again, not fancy. I don't spend a lot of time building fancy maps and stuff because I'm just trying to highlight the functionality. The other thing I'll say is that I'm not saying that this is the best way to do something. I'm not saying this is the only way to do something. In fact, I'm sure there are probably better, more efficient ways to do a lot of the things that I'm showing. But these just happen to be what I discovered works. And again, I may end up finding a better way to do something later down the road and actually pursue that. But for the time being, I'm just trying to post tutorial videos for things that I think might help people, and I haven't seen other tutorials. So anyway, that's kind of the gist. I'm still new, still learning. These are not necessarily the best way to do this, but they work. So if you do watch this and you know of a better way to do it, hey, by all means, leave a comment. If you identify a problem, if you watch something and say, hey, you know what, it works, but you're going to run into problems down the road, by all means, share that. Okay. All right. So let me show you this series of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 events, because they all do slightly different things, and then we'll break them down. So let me just show you in the game what's happening. And again, this started off with a desire of making a dice roll on the screen. And I didn't have a dice asset. So before I even bothered to try to find a dice asset and go through that thing, because I'm not very good at photoshopping or using GIMP or whatever. So instead I said, you know what? I can just use the images that we have in the game, like character images, and run and test that. And then if I can use the images, then I should be able to use dice. So that's the first thing I did. I'm going to click here, and it's going to rotate through pictures of characters, and then it's going to tell me essentially what I rolled. I rolled a 6, okay? It doesn't really mean anything right now, but I'm just testing the functionality. One more time, it's just going to cycle through the pictures, and they're random, and then it says, okay, you rolled a 3. All right, so that was the first thing. Tested just to see, how does this work? And then I'll invest in finding a dice resource. So here's the next one, and I got a dice resource. And so all it's doing is it's cycling through, and it's showing you the different values of the dice, and then it's settling on a final value. So once again, okay, again, not fancy dice. I'll tell you how I got this after I finish showing this. So this is a 5. All right, go over here. Now this one should be the same type of thing, just a little faster. So the values go a little faster. Same functionality though. I rolled a 4. Let's try it again. Okay, got a 1, right? And I told it how many times to cycle through before it settles on a number, okay? Now the next one is, if I remember correctly, I did the exact same thing, but I used a common event. Instead of having the event do everything, I'm calling a common event, but it does essentially the same thing. So here we go. Okay, now it's going a little faster though. So we rolled a 6. Let's try it. Okay, this concludes the common event test. So again, I'm a big advocate for putting things in here. I wouldn't put them in games, but for testing purposes, I'm confirming that it's doing what I want it to do. So again, I click on it again. It's cycling through a little faster. I rolled a 1. Okay, that concludes the common event. Now go over here, and this one, now it's 3 dice. And if you notice the difference, I changed the way the dice appear. It's the same image that I was using before, but I changed the way it looks on the screen. So we rolled a 1, a 2, and a 1, and then I just had it total it up because I wanted to test something. So that's why I did it. So let's do it again. It's going to go faster, and there's going to be 3 dice. Okay, so I kind of like that speed because it makes it seem like it's like a dice roll. Okay, so a 1, 5, and a 4, that's a 10. Now let's go over here. Now this one, now this one I was testing a plugin that comes with the game, but I haven't explored plugins very much. So this is a picture button, right? So you use an image and you make it a button so you can click on it. When you are ready, click the dice with your mouse to roll. So now I'm going to click enter. Now I'm going to show this though. Until I click, I can still move around. Okay, so I can still move around. That's a problem, and I'm going to fix that in the next one. So now I take my mouse, I click on this, and now it rolls. And then it does the same thing. I rolled a 4. Okay, now it's gone. So I'm going to click it one more time. When you're ready, click the dice. Okay, I can still move around. I don't like that. So I'm going to click on it, and there you go. Now I got a 6. Okay. All right, now the last one is also testing another plugin that comes with the MZ. And again, I'm just starting to explore the official plugins that come with the game. So I'm going to click on this. Now, it says, click on the hand holding the dice to roll your fate. So now, if you'll notice something, I'm trying to move. So I'm pressing the arrow keys, and I can't move. If I click, my character's not moving, because I made him freeze in place. I want the player to roll the dice. If I click down here, nope, it's not rolling. If I click here, nope, not rolling. I have to click this picture, and then it's going to roll the dice. You rolled a 6, a 3, and a 3 for a total of 12, and then it goes away. Now it also took this guy away, so that means I can't repeat it, right? As far as the test goes. So I'm just gonna end that. I'm gonna do it one more time, just to show this guy one more time. And so go over here again, and again, I can move around with all of them except this guy. So click here, click on the hand holding the dice to roll your fate. Trying to move, it won't let me move. Trying to move with the mouse, nope, won't let me move the mouse. So it's got my 3 6s here, and I'm going to click here, and it's going to roll my dice. Okay, you rolled a 3, a 2, and a 1 for a total of 6. All right, so that's essentially all the different things that I built to test this out. I started with the simple thing of, hey, can I make pictures change? And then progressively went from there. Okay, so first thing, well, we'll do it when we get to the plugin. So the first event is this. If you've watched any of my other previous videos, you'll probably notice some things. But anyway, so we have this event. I have the image of the crystal. By setting it to stepping and direction fix, it's going to do that movement in the game. And if you don't do this, then sometimes some of these images will cycle through unexpected things. So anyway, I just set it to walking, stepping, direction fixed. Same as character, action button, so that you can click on it. We take a control variable, right? So I made a control variable 230, dice loop variable equals to 1. So the variable should be set to 0 when the game starts anyway. Sorry, is equals to 0. It should be set to 0 anyway, but just for purposes, in this event, I set it to 0 right off the bat. Then, so again, you right click here, edit, just use this, right? So what I would do is double click anywhere, tab 1, control variable, right? And then I select my control variable and I set it to whatever I want, right? Set it to constant of 0. So then I created a loop, right? So I use the loop command. And again, you just double click somewhere, page tab 1, loop. You just select loop, and then, but what it does is it establishes the loop and it establishes the repeat above is what it does. So again, if you haven't seen that, double click, loop, and it just creates the loop and the repeat above. Okay, so I have a loop. Now inside that loop, I have another variable that's doing a die6 roll. So this right here, control variable 231, is d6 roll equals random 1 to 6, right? So my d6 roll is set to random 1 to 6. So it's going to randomly generate a number between 1 through 6. All right. Then we have a bunch of conditional branches, right? So conditional branches are tab 1 again, conditional branch, right? So my conditional branch is if the variable die6 roll is equal to a constant of 1, right? If that is true, then it's going to, so if this random roll is a 1, it's going to show picture 1, which is actor 1-1. So you can click here and it will show you the pictures, right? So I'm setting picture 1 to actor 1-1. I'm setting it for the upper left as far as it's where the designator here is going to be the upper left corner of the picture. And then I just randomly set the direct designation of X and Y, right? And these are pixels on the screen. These are pixels on the screen. Pixel 200 and 300, right, for X and Y. I made the picture smaller, 25%, and then opacity I didn't touch, and I left it normal, and that was pretty much it. And then I had it wait 10 frames. Again, just that's establishing the speed of how fast the pictures go through. And then I just did a next conditional branch. If the die6 roll is equal to 2, then use this actor's image. And you notice I'm using the same picture number because I'm not leaving the picture on the screen. So I don't need picture 1, picture 2, picture 3, picture 4. I'm using the same, I'm replacing the picture. So I only need picture number 1, and then it's actor 1_2, okay? And everything else is the same. Upper left, 200, 300, 25%, okay? So that it appears in the exact same spot as where this one would appear. And then waits 10 frames, again, to give you that cycling. And then another conditional branch. If die6 roll is equal to 3, then just do same exact thing, but now it's actor 1_3, okay, for the picture. And then wait 10 frames. And then you can, so what I do is I create one of these, and then I just right click, copy, and then I put it wherever I want it to go, like right here at the last end, and I would right click and I would paste. And then I would just change it. I'd click on here and I would change my value, and then I'd click on here and I'd make my edits, right? But that's how I do it as a time saver. So you go through all of these different options. If the die roll is 4, if the die roll is 5, if the die roll is 6, you're changing the different actor pictures, but the positioning and the size and the picture number all stays the same. Then, so it basically what this is doing, when the loop starts, it randomly generates a number 1 through 6, figures out which picture to show, right, 1 through 6. Then it's going to say, okay, I have another control variable, 230, dice loop variable. I'm adding 1 to that, right? So up here, I set that to 0. Now I'm adding 1 to it. And then I'm going to immediately check another conditional branch. If the dice loop variable is greater than 10, I'm going to break the loop. And when I break the loop, it's going to drop below this repeat above. So it's when I break the loop, it's going to drop below. It's going to show me the text. You rolled a /v, right, bracket 231. That's going to give me the value of the dice roll. and then it's going to erase the picture number 1. It's going to remove it from the screen. But if the dice loop variable is not greater than 10, it repeats above. That means it jumps back to the loop, and then it randomly rolls 1 through 6 again, decides which picture to show, adds 1 to the variable, checks to see if it's greater than 10. If it's not, it repeats above, goes back to the loop. If it is greater than 10, eventually, right, 10 times, it will drop down here. It'll show me you rolled a /v brackets 231. That's the variable. And it's going to give me the number, and then erase the picture. And then it's done. That event is done. If I wanted to remove it from the screen, right, I would just simply set a control self switch A. I would turn that on, and then I would make a new event page. I would set it to A, and then essentially there's no image here. So as soon as it went through this, it would erase the picture. It would show me the text, erase the picture. Control self switch A would be on. That means it would move to page 2, right, this tab 2, and then it would remove the image, right? It would just get rid of that crystal, and then you couldn't interact with it anymore. So I'm on page 2 now. I'm just going to delete that event page. But the way I have it set up, that crystal will be there to interact with again. Okay, so that was just the picture test. So I did the exact same thing, only I used a dice. Now you say, okay, how did you do that? Okay, well, all I did was I went out on the internet. I looked for, I searched for images of dice. And I found one that was, and actually I'm just going to pause here for a second. Okay, I'm back. So all I did was I went out on the internet and I searched for dice images, right? And I found one that was clip art, and it had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it was one picture. It was a PNG, which is what I needed. It was one picture that had all 6 dice faces on it. And then what I did was I simply used as simple as when I edit here, I select edit image, and then I selected, it opened it up like this, right? And then all I did was I just selected each one of these. So like this, I just, let's see, how did I do that? Thought I did that. Didn't I do that? No, that's that and that. Well, crap. Now I can't remember. Just one second. Let me think about this. Okay, sorry, I'm back. I forgot how I did this actually. So what I did was I downloaded this, a .png file of clip art, and then I used Snippet to essentially cut one of the dice out, make its own image. And then I did that 6 times. So I made 6 separate images of the dice, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I tried to keep them the same size. Okay, so I just want to make that clear as to how I did that. All right. Okay, and I'm experimenting with this pausing feature. All right, so that's how I did that. I made the clip art, right? So I got 6 dice and made them into 6 different images. And then what I did was I went to my folder in the library. Okay, I'm going to pause again too. Okay, again, I'm just trying to help you out here. So the way I got to the folder, you can navigate to it manually, but if you want a quick way to do it because you have trouble finding the folder that you need, I went to just my Steam library, went to RPG Maker MZ, right-clicked on it, went down to Manage, and then went to Browse Local Files. And that pulls you to the folder that you want. And then I'll show later the DLC that you might want. Okay, actually, I'm sorry. I did this to get to the DLC folder for instance, plugins that I mentioned, launch plugins. There's a bunch of them, or official plugins. Okay, and actually, that's not what I wanted. What I wanted was my my game. So right now I'm on my game random map test. And then I wanted to go to the image files, and then I wanted to go to the pictures. And so now you can see these are all those photos that I was using originally. And then here's my dice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then there's that dice in hand picture, right? So you just take whatever images you want, plug them into the pictures folder of the IMG folder of your save game, right? Whatever game it is, your game that you're making. And that's where you can get to the that's how you can get to the where you store the pictures. Okay, so now this is set up exactly the same way. It's just using the dice pictures instead. So I still have my dice loop variable that's set to 1. I set my loop. I have it roll 1 to 6. I go through my 6 conditional branches. If it's a 1, then show picture 1, show D1, right? My dice 1. D1, D2, D3, D4, D5, D6, right? And so same location, size, you can, again, mess with the size of how you want it and where you want it on the screen. And then wait 10 frames because that was that initial speed. So you do the conditional branch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and all you're doing within each one is it's still picture 1, but you're changing it to, say, when it's a 5, you change it to D5. When it's a 6, you change it to D6. Then you do your add 1 to the dice loop variable, check to see if it's greater than 10 or whatever value you want, however many times you want it to cycle through. And if it is greater than that number you set, it breaks the loop, shows you the text, erases the picture. If it's not greater than 10, it goes back up to the loop and it starts over again. It re-rolls 1 to 6 and then it decides which ones to show. Okay, very simple. So pretty much the exact same thing, only the pictures are different. Here's this next event. This is exactly the same thing. All I did was experiment with the wait time, making the images go through faster and what looks best in your game. I still think a wait of 5 frames, which is actually, so 60 frames is 1 second, right? So this is 5/60ths of a second. I still think that's a little slow for the way it appears. Everything else is exactly the same, okay? This one is faster, but it's also using a common event. So the value of this is you take exactly what I did before, stick it in a common event, and then you can call that common event as many times as you want from with however many events you want, and you don't have to have all that stuff in your event itself. So the first thing this event does is it calls the common event, dice roll test. And then it comes back and says this concludes the common event test. So what is dice roll test doing? Well, let's go here. I go up here to my database. I go to common events and dice roll test. It is exactly the same as the content of the event. It does the dice loop variable equals 1. It creates the loop, randomly rolls 1 through 6. And again, same variable numbers. Do the six conditional branches, right? If it's a 1, you show D1. If it's a 2, you show D2 for the dice 2. Waiting 5 frames. Okay, all the way through, you get through your 6. Add 1 to the dice loop variable. If it's greater than 20 this time, right? If it's greater than 20, then it breaks the loop. Otherwise, it repeats above. And then it shows you the text, and then it erases the picture, right? So that's all done. So same thing, it just is it's using a common event. Okay, so which I like common events because it saves me from repeating all this stuff in multiple events all over the place. You can just have events from any map calling that same common event. Now, what's this one doing? Okay, now this one is where you've got the 3 dice, right? So again, down here, I did the same thing. I just selected an image, walking, stepping, direction fix, action button to click on. Use that same dice loop variable equals 1. Same loop, right? But now this time I'm creating 3 random rolls. Dice D6 roll, D6 times 2, D6 times 3, and it's rolling a random number 1 through 6, 1 through 6, 1 through 6. Then what it's going to do is it's going to go through conditional branches for each of these dice rolls. So first time, if dice 6 roll equals to 1, then picture 1 is going to be dice 1, right? So picture 1 is going to be dice 1. Wait 1 frame. So 1/60th of a second. That's why it's rotating so fast. That's why it's going through so fast. If it's a 2, then picture 1 is a die 2. And again, only wait 1 frame. The other thing I want to show here is that for blend mode, instead of normal, I selected multiply. And what I would say is, check these, experiment with these, see how the pictures change on your screen. For my purposes, I didn't like that white background of the dice, and I didn't want to take a lot of time to Photoshop because I'm not very good at it. So it just worked out really well that by using multiply, that I like the way the dice look better. It kind of like blends into the screen rather than having that harsh white background. So I did change that to multiply. All the other events left that to normal. All right, so that's the only other thing I changed. So it's going to check the conditional branches for the first variable. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just like the other events did. But now it's also going to do the same thing for the variable d6 roll times 2. Only this time, it's going to use a different picture number 2, because that's the second dice. And you're going to show D1. And I changed my location, right? So if you notice here, the location started at X of 50 and Y of 475, only 20% for the size of the dice. I made it smaller. And then what I did was when I went to picture 2, I just played with this. And now instead of a 50 for X, it's 150. And then it's 475, right? So the X and the Y may change. And then you go through it 6 times, right? For the different possibilities of the second dice. And then you do the same thing for the third dice. So if die 6 roll times 3 is equal to 1, then it's going to show picture 3. It's going to show D1. And then I just changed the X, and I didn't change the Y, I actually changed the X's, right? Because I wanted them to move from like this position to this position to this position. So you're changing the Y pixel value. Same size, 20%, right? Multiply. Now, once it gets through all 3 of those, right? So I did the 3 variable rolls first, and then it very quickly cycled through the conditional branches for each of those variables to show which value of dice, D1 through 6, is it going to show. Then it does that same thing, dice loop variable plus, right, 1. If it's greater than 20, it's going to break the loop, drop down here, and we'll talk about this in a second. Otherwise, it's going to jump back to the loop and do it all over again. Okay, now, what is this thing doing? So this, in the previous events, I use the erase picture, right? So when I go here in tab 2, you can erase the picture. And when you click on that, you have to choose the picture you're going to erase. Now, since I'm using 3 pictures, right? I'm using 3 different pictures, picture 1, 2, and 3. I could have just said erase picture, picture 1, and then I could have said erase picture, picture 2, and then I could have said erase picture, right? Picture 3. I could have done that, and it would have been fine. Would have been perfectly fine. But there is a script call that you can do that is actually erasing all the pictures. Okay, it's erasing all the pictures, and essentially, so this right here is. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, I'm sorry. I was talking about the wrong thing. This script down here is clearing the pictures. So let me show that first. So when you go in here, it's simply $, lowercase game, capital S, screen, dot, and then lowercase clear, uppercase P for pictures, and then the two parentheses, right? And that's just going to clear all the pictures on the screen. So it's a very, very simple script. And you get to that by going tab 3, script, and then you just put what you want in there. Okay, that's how you use that script. And so $game capital screen dot clear capital pictures with the brackets. I'm sorry, not brackets, parentheses. That clears all the pictures. What this is doing is this is basically adding up the values of variable 231, variable 232, and variable 233, which are your 3 dice rolls, right? 231 is your first dice, 232 is your second dice, 233 is your third dice. And so what I wanted to do was I wanted to total that. So I wanted the text to show you rolled a /V231, /V232, /V233. That gives you the values of the variables. And then I wanted the total. So total /V234, showing the variable 234. And so this script is just adding up the 3 variables, 231, 232, and 233, and having the value of 234 be the sum of those. Now, again, there's probably an easier way to do this. I just did it this way because I can, and I knew how to do it. I tested it. So what I did was, again, using a script, $game capital variables dot set capital value, and then parentheses 234. So that's the number of the variable. So variable 234, comma, and then $game variables dot value 231, so in parentheses, plus, same thing, $game variables dot value 232 with parentheses, plus $game variables dot value in parentheses 233. So what this is doing, this is saying using a script, set the value of variable 234, comma, which is saying to the value of 231, the value of 232, and of course you're adding, and the value of 233. Okay, so that's all it's doing. But you have to make sure that you have everything in the right spot, right? No extra spaces. You've got the capitals where they're supposed to be. You've got the parentheses, right? If you don't, then it's not going to work. So that's all that line is doing. Using a script to add up these 3 variable values and then showing the total. And then this, again, is clearing all the pictures instead of doing erase picture 1, erase picture 2, erase picture 3. And then that's it. I'm sorry, we're in the event now, right? We're in the event. And then that's done, okay? Sure, I don't think I really missed anything. Then this one is, again, using a common event, but I'm sorry, no, it's not. It is using a common event, but it's using a plugin as well. So now with this is a picture button plugin, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go up to my plugin manager. And as you can see, I activated 3 plugins. ButtonPicture makes a picture clickable. TextPicture displays text as a picture. And then this change equipment, which is a different thing. To look at your plugins, when you look at your plugin manager plugin list, you double click, and then you click on the name field here, and it tells you the plugins that you can select. You click on one, and it gives you a description. Okay, so ButtonPicture says this plugin provides a command to call a common event when a picture is clicked, and it tells you how to use it. Execute show picture to display your button image. Call the plugin command set button picture. So it's telling you what to do. Same thing with the text picture, right? So call the plugin command and then execute show picture without specifying an image. So that's how, and in order to get those plugins, what you need to do is you need to go to your RPG Maker MZ folder, which is what I was showing where from Steam you can browse local files, then go to the you can go to the DLCs for downloadable content, and then a folder in there is plugins, and you just copy it. Copy whatever plugins you want, and then paste them into your game folder, right? So I'm on my game random map test, and I would go to that folder, and I would then paste the plugins, right, into the JS folder. I'm pretty sure. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go here. And I'm in my game, and so JS and then plugins. And then here's my plugins: TextPicture, ButtonPicture, right? So you're in your game folder, then you're in the JS folder, and then you're in the plugins folder. That's where you copy. That's where you paste your plugins. Okay, now, so the way I do this is show picture, right? So this is, I'm showing a picture, picture 1, image of dice 1, and I told it where to go, right? X of 200, Y of 300, I told it how large. And then I just set a text, right, where I said, hey, I want to tell them what to do. When you're ready, click the dice with your mouse to roll, right? So I'm telling the player what to do. Then this is the plugin, and the way you do this is you go in. So, and again, you can either right click and new, or what I do is I just double click, and then you would go to tab 3, right, page 3, tab 3 of event commands, click plugin command, and then you have to select the plugin you want, and a button picture or picture. If I click button picture, it reminds me again what to do, right? And then when I click OK, it says, okay, here's the plugin, here's the command name, right? This one only has one command name, tells me again what it's doing, and then here's my picture number 1, common event number 1. What I have to do is I have to change those. So I don't have to if I'm using picture 1, but to change them, you just double click, and then you change the value, right? Or you could also use text. Common event, double click, and then you get to pick the common event that you're using. Okay, that's how you do that. So what I selected was picture number 1, because that's what I showed picture. Common event is number 10. All right, so it's common event number 10. So we'll check out common event number 10 in a second. So you see show picture number 1, that's picture number 1 here. It's calling common event number 10, and then it's done. So again, I'm using a common event. So let's go to common event number 10. Whoops, that's the dice roll test. We already went through this. So it's the exact same common event that I showed before. Okay, the exact same common event that I showed before. And that's the using the clickable picture. Now this guy is doing multiple things, but they're very similar. So I show the text, click on the hand holding the dice so that the player knows what to do. Then I show picture number 1, which is that, so picture number 1 is dice in hand, right? So that's this one, that's my dice in hand. And I'd say where it's going to go, right? I just played with the pixels until it was on the screen where I wanted it to be, and played with the width and the scale. Then I showed the 3 pictures of the dice. So picture 2, picture 3, and picture 4, I chose dice 6, and dice 6, right? And so so it starts off with 3 dice showing the 6 on them, and I just, again, experimented with the X locations and the Y locations and the scale until it was what I wanted. Then, so now what this is doing, it's showing the text, telling the player what to do. Then it places the 4 images on the screen, right? That places the 4 images on the screen. The picture of the hand, and then the 3 dice. Then this is the text picture. Okay, now this one is a different plugin. Okay, so what this is doing is it's allowing you, it sets text to display as a picture. After this, execute show picture without specifying an image. So you double click here and you can type whatever you want. Click below to roll the dice. You can type whatever you want. And it shows it, and it's going to show it on the screen as a picture. Okay, and how did I do that? Again, I just inserted it. Went to plugin command, select the name, text picture. It reminds me what it does. I click OK, and then it says again, telling me I could, if it has more than one command name, which this one doesn't, tells me what it's doing. Here's text, right? There's no text. Double click, and then I type whatever. Hello, right? Can't even type. Hello, right? So that's how you get that one on there. And then that's going to make the picture show up above the hand. Click below to roll the dice. And then this picture, number 5, what is number 5? It's the plugin said I had to show a picture with no image, right? That's what the plugin told me to do. So that's what I did, right? So I did the show picture, and this is basically, you still have to tell it where it's going to go, though, right? Where the text is going to appear on the screen. So I just played with the X and Y and the scale to make it look the way I wanted to. But it's another picture, picture number 5. So this makes the hand appear. This makes the 6 dice appear and just sit there. This and this make the text appear on the screen as a picture. Click below to roll the dice. And then this command is the one that is doing the button picture press, right? So it's saying, hey, button picture plugin, picture number 1, that was the hand holding the dice. Common event number 11, again, I can double click and I can pick what I want. So this is dice roll test 2. And what you're going to see is, and I'm going to come back to that, dice roll test 2 is essentially the same as the event that I already showed you with the 3 different dice rolls, right? So you've got your loop at 0, you've got your 3 different random rolls, then it goes through all the conditional branches for dice 1, all of them for dice 2, and then all of them for dice 3. Then it does the add 1 to the loop variable. If it's greater than 20, break the loop. Otherwise, it's going to, again, I showed this, it's going to add up the value of 231, 232, and 233, and it's going to show you the total. It's going to erase all the pictures. So $game, capital screen, dot clear, capital pictures, in parentheses, it clears all the pictures off the screen. There was 5 of them, right? It clears all 5. And then this set movement route of player. The reason this is there is that's what makes it so the player can't move. So I had a little trouble with this, and I had to ask for some help on the forum. And essentially, I didn't want the player to be able to move around. And I came up with a couple solutions, but they weren't great. And this was a really simple solution that was proposed on the forum, and I had seen it in some other earlier questions that were asked years ago. What you do is, in the event, you set a movement route for the player and set it to repeat. So set movement route player, repeat movements, and there's no route. So basically, the player's not moving, but it's repeating. It's going to keep repeating until you tell it to stop, okay? And so the way I got there was on page 2, set movement route. Again, you have to change these sometimes, but I wanted it to be player. Don't give it any commands. Don't select anything over here. Don't give it any commands. And then you don't wait for completion. Tell it to repeat the movements. It's going to sit there and cycle through and through and through and through and through, and so the player can't move. And that's what I wanted to happen. But I want the player to be released, right? So in order to release them, it goes to the common event. So at the end of the common event, set movement route player, again, so set movement route player, no actual movement, but you're not repeating it. So basically it sets the player free. It does this once, there's nothing to move, so it does it pretty much instantaneous, and then it stops. So now the player is no longer stuck in that loop of not moving, and now the player can move again, right? So the common event is doing that. So in the event, you set the movement route to be blank, but you set it to repeat, and that means the player's stuck. And then in the common event, you set a new movement route blank, but don't make it repeat, and so that will free the player. Okay, and then the last thing here is just that control self switch A, which is moving it to page 2, which takes that that thing away, right? And actually, I'm gonna get rid of that because now I actually don't want I want to be able to, I'm going to delete that. I actually want this to stay here so that I can test it multiple times, right? So I'm going to apply that. And that's pretty much it. So if I go back here again, yes, I'm going to save my changes. And yes, I know this is a very long video, folks. I apologize. But there was a lot to show here. And so I'm going to go over here, this guy, and this time he'll stay there. So click on the hand holding the dice to roll your fate. That was the text box. Then we had the, this is picture 1, picture 2, picture 3, picture 4, and then this is picture 5, or image 5, which is the text, right? And now I can't move, and I can't click anywhere, except the picture that I designated. It rolls, tells me what I rolled, and then he's still there, but now I can move again, right? So again, click on it. There's my result, and now I can move. Okay? All right, so that's all of that. And basically what we went through was the, before I even invested time in finding a dice image, I practiced using the actor images, and it worked perfectly fine. Then I did the dice images, right? Just one dice, and used a wait of 10 frames. So that's 10/60ths of a second, so that's 1/6 of a second. To me, that was too slow. And then I did the exact same thing, but with a shorter time frame, 5 frames. Still too slow for me. Then I did the common event, which is pretty much the same thing as it was the previous events, but using a common event instead. Then this one was using the 3 different dice, right? And then going through it that way. And then this one was showing that you can use a clickable picture, which is going to call a common event. And then this one was using 2 plugins, right? Not only the clickable picture, but also showing the text as a picture, and did all that, plus the movement route to make it so that the player can't move. And that's pretty much it. So anyway, again, I apologize. This is such a long video. There was a lot to this, and rather than break it into pieces, I just wanted to do it in one fell swoop. I hope it came out well. I really do. I paused a lot of times. And again, all I did was go out, get a clip art thing, use Snippet or whatever to cut out the image. Or if you have skills in Photoshop, or if you have skills in GIMP or whatever, you can make your own dice. You can do whatever. This is not fancy. This is not like showing dice rolling on the screen. They're stationary and they're just flipping through their values. But I thought it was pretty cool because I didn't know if I could do it. And I figured it out, and I like it. I think it's really cool. So anyway, if this is helpful, please let me know. If you think this is cool, let me know. If this is going to help you, let me know. Leave a comment. If this is helpful, please consider, liking, subscribing, getting notifications, leaving comments. I'm only doing this as a means of trying to give back. When I have something I can't figure out, I search for tutorials, I search for posts about it. If I can't self-help, I'll look in the script call list. That's a great resource, but it takes a little bit to try to figure out how to make things work, and I still don't know very much, and so I'll end up asking questions on the RPG Maker forum. Very, very helpful people over there. So anyway, again, I hope this is helpful, folks. Just trying to do this to give back. And again, if you know of problems from what you've seen in this, because you know more than I do, or if you have other suggestions, or if you have questions about this, feel free to ask. I'll try to help. Or if you have requests for other videos, feel free to ask. Leave comments, and I'll try to see what I can do. I do have a lot of things I've built that I need to do tutorials on. I'll just get to it whenever I can. So anyway, have a great holidays, folks here. Happy holidays for wherever you are, whatever you celebrate. Happy holidays. And I will try to get more videos up. In the meantime, happy gaming, happy game development, or developing, I should say. And I will talk to everyone later. Bye.